What happens when a perfectly orchestrated morning show appearance erupts into television's most explosive confrontation of the year? No one could have predicted what unfolded when Meghan Markle sat across from Ripa and Mark Consuelos. A segment meant to be promotional gold that descended instead into live, unfiltered chaos. The cameras were rolling. The audience was riveted. And within minutes, the polished civility of morning TV shattered into open warfare between the former royal and America's favorite hosting duo. From the moment Meghan stepped onto the glossy set of Live with Kelly and Mark, the tension was palpable. Her entrance, met with cheers and applause, carried an undercurrent of unease. Dressed in an immaculate cream blazer that radiated quiet authority, she moved with the precision of someone determined to control the narrative. Her smile was perfect, but her eyes gave nothing away. Kelly, ever the seasoned professional, greeted her guest with warmth that didn't quite reach her gaze. "Meghan, it's wonderful to have you here," she began, her voice bright but carefully measured. "You've been busy. New projects, public appearances, and of course your recent comments about your time in the monarchy. There's been a lot of discussion." The question hung in the air like static. Meghan's smile flickered, her shoulders stiffening almost imperceptibly before she replied, "I think it's important to speak one's truth, don't you? Authenticity and transparency have always been essential to me." Mark leaned forward, tone deceptively polite. "That's interesting, because some have pointed out inconsistencies between your statements and official accounts. For example, you've said you felt unprepared for royal life, but reports suggest you received extensive briefings and support." The audience shifted uneasily. The warmth of morning TV had turned cold. Meghan's grip on the armrest tightened, knuckles whitening. "There's a difference between being briefed on protocol and living that reality," she said, her voice taut. "No amount of preparation could have prepared me for what I faced." Kelly and Mark exchanged a knowing glance. Kelly's tone sharpened, still polite but edged. "Some would argue that you had access to more resources and guidance than most could dream of. Palace insiders have suggested that perhaps that support wasn't fully embraced. That hit its mark." Meghan's expression hardened. "Palace insiders? You mean the same people who leaked lies to the tabloids? The same system that failed to protect me from racism and relentless harassment?" Mark pressed. "No one is minimizing what you've gone through, Meghan. But there are valid questions about accountability. Some of your legal claims have been contradicted by other evidence. How do you reconcile that?" The studio fell silent. Even the production crew froze, sensing they were witnessing something unprecedented. Meghan's voice dropped, icy calm, laced with fury. "It's fascinating that you're more interested in attacking me than discussing the real issues: racism, misogyny, the treatment of women who dare to speak up." Kelly's smile vanished. "We're not attacking anyone. We're asking questions our viewers deserve answers to. That's journalism." "Journalism?" Meghan's composure cracked, emotion seeping through her carefully maintained poise. "Is that what you call this ambush? I came here to talk about my work, not to be interrogated like a criminal." "With respect," Mark countered, "when public figures make statements that contradict established facts, those statements become fair game. That's not hostility, it's accountability." "Fair game?" Meghan's voice rose, trembling with anger. "Is it fair game to question a woman's lived experience? To demand proof of trauma or discrimination?" Kelly's tone was calm but unyielding. "No one is questioning your right to speak. But when your claims form the basis of serious accusations, they must stand up to scrutiny. That's how accountability works." That word, accountability, landed like a slap. Meghan's eyes flashed. "Let's talk about accountability then. About a media that profits from tearing women down, especially women of color. About hosts who lure guests under false pretenses just to ambush them for ratings." The air thickened. Kelly's jaw clenched, her voice dropping dangerously low. "False pretenses? Meghan, your publicist approved every topic discussed today. You knew we'd touch on your statements about the royal family." But Meghan was beyond reason now, emotion flooding past her control. "A list of topics is not an interrogation. You're treating me like the enemy. This is exactly what I endured in the UK." Mark leaned forward, all pretense of morning show charm gone. "Asking follow-ups isn't hostility, it's integrity. When you make allegations of racism against a global institution, people have a right to ask questions." "Questions?" Meghan shot back, rising from her chair. "You mean the same questions asked by people who silenced me?" Who told me what I could and couldn't say? Her voice trembled with rage. Those interviews weren't my truth. They were scripted performances. This, she gestured around the studio, this is exactly the same, controlled, manipulative, perpetuating the same cycle. The audience sat frozen, half in awe, half in shock. Phones were raised, recording every second of what was clearly becoming a viral moment in real time. Kelly, finally losing her composure, stood as well. Your truth, Meghan? What about the truth of the people you've accused? What about their right to defend themselves without being labeled villains? Their side has been heard for centuries. Meghan's voice was shaking now, raw and electric. Their side owns the narrative. I'm just one woman trying to tell her story, and even that is too much for you people to handle. The phrase "you people" detonated across the set. Kelly's mouth fell open. Mark's brows shot up. The audience gasped audibly. The cameras kept rolling, and in that moment, morning television, as America knew it, changed forever. The implication behind Meghan's words hung heavy in the air, unmistakable in its weight. Both hosts instantly recognized the gravity of what had just been said. On live television, excuse me? Mark's voice was low and lethal, his professional composure stretched thin. What exactly do you mean by "you people" at Meghan? The question cut through the silence like glass. Realizing her mistake, Meghan scrambled to recover. I mean the media establishment, she said quickly. The people who profit from controversy and conflict. I don't mean anything else by it. But her clarification rang hollow. The damage was done. Kelly shook her head slowly, disappointment replacing her earlier restraint. Meghan, we invited you here in good faith. We've treated you with respect and asked legitimate questions. Questions any journalist would ask. The fact that you're now implying bias because we won't accept your statements without question, that's deeply troubling. Troubling. Meghan's laugh was sharp and bitter. What's troubling is that I can't speak about my experiences without being doubted or attacked. Every word I say is dissected while the people who actually hurt me get to hide behind their titles. Mark rose to his feet, his presence commanding the room. With all due respect, Meghan, you're not being attacked. You're being asked to explain inconsistencies in your public statements. That's not hostility, that's accountability. And your refusal to see the difference is exactly why these questions need to be asked. The confrontation had reached its boiling point. Meghan's face was flushed, her breath uneven. Kelly and Mark stood firm, veterans of live television now navigating a moment that would make headlines for years. You know what? Meghan's voice trembled with fury. I don't have to sit here and be interrogated by people who've already judged me. I don't have to justify my pain to anyone, least of all to people who've never lived it. Kelly's expression hardened. No one's asking you to justify your pain. But when you make public accusations that affect others' reputations, yes, you must be prepared to answer questions. That's what public accountability looks like. Meghan's laugh was scathing. Accountability? This isn't accountability, it's humiliation. This is exactly why women, especially women of color, stay silent. Because when we speak, this is what we get. The implication of racism hung unspoken but undeniable. Both hosts recognized it immediately. A line had been crossed. Mark's face darkened, his composure fracturing. Stop right there, Meghan, he said sharply. If you're suggesting our questions are racially or personally motivated, be very careful what you're implying on national television. Kelly stepped closer, her voice low and icy. Let's be clear. We treat every guest with fairness and respect, no matter who they are. The questions we've asked you are the same ones we'd ask any public figure making serious claims. To suggest otherwise isn't just false, it's defamatory. But Meghan was past the point of no return. Her voice rose to a shriek that made the microphones crackle. Defamatory? What about the years of lies and distortions about me? What about the campaign to destroy my name? The audience shifted uncomfortably. Even the camera operators seemed tense, knowing they were capturing a television moment that would be replayed endlessly. Kelly's tone was surgical. Meghan, your reputation has been shaped by your own actions and words, not by legitimate journalism. And right now you're doing more damage to it than anyone else ever could. Mark nodded grimly. You came on this show voluntarily. You knew the format. Your team approved every topic. The fact that you don't like the questions doesn't make them unfair. Meghan's laugh cracked, edged with hysteria. These aren't questions, they're attacks. This is exactly what I faced in the UK. The constant nitpicking. The refusal to believe me. The demand that I prove my pain. Your truth, Kelly said coldly, is not immune to scrutiny just because it's yours. When you make public statements, when you accuse others, you invite examination. That's not persecution, that's journalism. Verified by whom? Meghan snapped, eyes blazing. By you? By the same media that profits off my suffering? The same system that protects abusers while vilifying victims? That was it. Mark's patience broke. Enough, he said, his voice echoing through the studio. I won't sit here and be accused of racism or bias by someone who refuses to answer basic questions. Oh, you won't sit here? Meghan fired back, voice cracking. Then neither will I. I don't have to endure this interrogation, this public ambush disguised as journalism. She began gathering her things with trembling hands, her purse spilling across the pristine set. Makeup compacts, papers, a phone, scattered symbols of unraveling control. Meghan, Kelly said tightly, you're making a mistake. Walking out proves you can't defend your own words. I don't owe you anything, Meghan screamed. Not proof, not explanations, and definitely not the satisfaction of seeing me break. But she already was. Tears streaked her face, her voice cracking under the weight of fury and humiliation. The Duchess, once the picture of composure, was now breaking down live on air. Mark straightened, addressing the audience with the authority of a news anchor. Ladies and gentlemen, what you've just witnessed is what happens when someone who's made years of public accusations is finally asked to be accountable. This is why questions matter. This is why journalism matters, and don't you dare lecture me about accountability, Meghan screamed, whirling toward him, eyes wild. You know nothing about my life, nothing about what I've endured. Kelly stepped forward, her voice cutting through the chaos like glass. Meghan, I think it's best you leave. This interview is over. The words hit like a slap. Meghan froze, eyes wide with disbelief. Then slowly realization dawned. She had been dismissed. Fine, she whispered, voice trembling. But this isn't over. People will see this for what it was. They'll see how you tried to destroy me. She turned toward the exit, her movement stiff, mechanical, like a marionette with its strings frayed. The audience sat frozen as she made her way to the door, heels striking the floor in sharp, uneven beats. Just before she reached it, she turned back one last time, her face streaked with mascara, her voice breaking. You'll regret this, both of you. When the truth comes out, you'll regret it. And then she was gone, leaving behind stunned silence, rolling cameras, and the eerie stillness that follows a public implosion. Kelly and Mark remained standing, faces set, as the weight of what had just unfolded settled over the room. The cameras lingered for several seconds more, capturing the wreckage of what would soon become one of the most infamous moments in morning television history. The confrontation was over, but the fallout had only just begun.